Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of some Building Big with Jerm. How's everybody doing today? In the last episode, we came out here and built up this really nice overgrown little church here, and I think it turned out really sick. And we built this to hide our moss farm. Our moss farm is just down here, or at least the collection area is. I have already made very good use of this, and we are going to be making good use of it again in today's episode. But I absolutely love how this area is coming together. I've spent some time, as you may be able to notice, I've spent a lot of time building up some custom trees in the area. We have a ton of new custom trees in the area, literally over 100 new custom trees, and we're not even close to done. We're probably about halfway done with all the trees that we're going to be building up in this area. And we're going to be working a little bit on that in today's episode. And as you can see over here, I have dug out, or I started digging out, a large chunk of this cliff over here. Now, we still have quite a ways to go, but it's getting there. We're probably about halfway done. I did a little chunk on this side, and then I've done a lot of stuff on this side. So we're probably about halfway there. We need to get this big chunk here dug out soon, before the end of the episode, so we can build up the rest of the cliffs in this area that are going to be fairly similar to those rocks over there. I'm really trying to get this chunk of the academy area done because I've got some ideas for some massive expansions I would like to do. But before we do that, I would like to get a large amount of stuff done on this side, because we have so much unfinished stuff over here. I mean, we got all the trees in here, but we don't have any bone meal, or I mean any foliage at all, like the tall grass that we have over here. So that's something that I want to get done before we start expanding further out. And I mean, really the main thing is just these cliffs down here and all the trees that are going to be going along this river here. That is my biggest goal. But before we get into that today, I would like to head into the Nether, and I want to build up my very first gold farm in this world. I know, it's pretty crazy. We've been in this world almost 10 years now, and I don't have a single gold farm. I've never built a gold farm in this world. So we're going to head in here, and we are going to get started on that. Okay, so we're on the roof of the Nether, and this is where we're going to be doing this. Well, actually, not here. We're going to have to go off into the distance to a different biome. So right about here, there's the portal we came in at, and we're going to be building it right about here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into that. I'm going to go ahead and just build up the base structure, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the things we need to add, like crafters and, believe it or not, llamas. All right, I have been doing a lot of work here. I've been very busy, but as you can see, the farm is done. I believe. I believe it should be good. It's up and running. I don't think we should run into any issues in the future. Let's actually just mute the game for now. But you can see on all these platforms up here, the piglins will spawn, the zombified piglins will spawn, and then they will fall down. They'll get attracted by the turtle eggs, which are throughout this entire thing. But then they'll fall down into this little area here where I can farm them. And this sword that I'm using has Smite 5, Sweeping Edge 3, Looting 3, Unbreaking 2, whoops, and Mending. But I don't think that Unbreaking 2 should be an issue at all, hopefully. And then that all feeds down into this system, which is a series of crafters, and we got a furnace here for the swords, all going to create gold blocks. And I haven't ran this very long at all, and we already have almost 2 stacks of gold blocks, which is amazing. Now, this farm design was done by C5. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. If I don't, remind me in the comments, please. But I do want to give credit where credit is due, because this is a pretty good farm. And eventually we'll have this probably connected to a piglin bartering system. But that's a project for another day. Now, as I've been working in the Nether, I've also been working on clearing out the rest of this little plateau here, so we have space to do some more terraforming. And it's kind of a mess right now. It is horrible looking right now. But don't worry, this is all going to come together in due time. And I think we're just going to go ahead and start working on this here in a minute. But before we actually get into that, as you may know, throughout the rest of this world, I've designed a bunch of custom banners for all the kingdoms in this world. And I decided it was finally about time to work on one for here. And here it is. I think this thing turned out super, super cool. Now, this is extremely inspired by the banners and the clothing designed for the Rhea Lucaria Academy in Elden Ring, which this entire place has been extremely inspired by. Everything that we're doing here in this area is extremely inspired by Elden Ring. So I felt like it'd be just about fitting. So we got the dark blue and dark red colors lined in like this almost peach color, like this very pale tan peachish color, and then we have the North Star in the middle. That's what the design is in Elden Ring, and I thought it looked cool, so I figured might as well. And we'll try to roll with it throughout the rest of the stuff that we do in this area. I've got an idea for actually an area that we could do like a North Star shape in the near future, incorporated into a build. Also, I guess I should explain how I did this in case you're a little confused. So let's go ahead and put up a fence here so we can put another one up. But this texture right here is actually, if I hit F3 and H to show advanced tooltips, this is actually a light blue dye. So I can't just go ahead and straight place this on the wall, unfortunately. I have to put it in an invisible item frame. So in 1.21, they recently added the ability to do custom NBT recipes, meaning the output of a custom recipe can have an NBT tag, which you can add several different tags to, like a custom name, a custom name, and a custom model data tag, which can apply a separate model to an item. So I put them in an item frame, and then I shear the item frame so the item frame is invisible. And then typically this would be, of course, up against a block. That's why I put it in the invisible item frame, so it could go flush up against the block, because otherwise it would just be floating in front of the block like this. But another thing I've done is a custom shield. Now, I'll probably never use shields, or very rarely anyways, unless they do another combat update at some point. But I just wanted to make it consistent. For every other kingdom, I've done a custom shield. So I wanted to keep it consistent throughout the world. Plus, I've done a similar thing here, where you could put the shield in the item frame and then shear it, and it is also up against the wall. So we can also use this for decoration as well, of course. All right, but now what I want to do is I want to get down here and continue landscaping this entire area, starting with the cliffs right over here. All right, and the cliff is kinda done. It's getting there. It's almost done. I have a small chunk down there I have to fill in still, but I'm not gonna worry about that just yet. I wanted to stop and show you guys what it's looking like, because I think it's looking so cool. I am loving this. Now, it is a bit different than all the other stuff that we've done in this area. Like the cliffs up there, they're very just smooth. Not really any shapes, any like rock shapes in there. I went a little crazy with the rock shapes here. And then also, it's kind of the opposite of what we did on the other side of the cliff, Jesus, I can't talk, on the side of the ocean. And then like this right here, this is a very small example of what we did on the other side. So this is going like in, the slope is going in, this slope is going out, if that makes sense. So this slope is sloping away from the valley, but this slope, the slope that what we can't see right now, was sloping in towards the terrain. I don't know if that made sense, but hopefully you understood. But yeah, this place is really coming along. I'm just loving this. I'm loving this so much. The thing that's holding me back from finishing this though is wool. So I gotta wait on some wool to farm up. I have a wool farm over there, and then I have a wool farm out of the city. So I'm just gonna have to AFK at one of those for a little bit. Then it'll just be I'll be able to quickly replace all that, or fill all that in. Now what I want to do is I want to start probably the biggest task of this episode. I want to start planting this giant wheat field, or a giant wheat field that we're going to be doing over here. So basically, we're going to have a big wheat field covering this entire hill here from the road all the way over to about this point here where this pig is here. And that also means we're going to have to get rid of all the mobs in this area. Ooh, I'm going to get a lot of free food though. I'll probably move these horses somewhere else, but all these other mobs we need to get rid of because we don't want any mobs trampling our farmland. And yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and clean up this whole area of all the mobs, and we'll be back. And then we'll get started on planting this entire wheat field. Hopefully we can get the whole thing done today. If not the whole thing, then at the very least, this angle. Everything that we can see from this side over here. But okay, let me go ahead and get into that, and we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, the wheat field is done for the most part. Like I mentioned earlier, we didn't get all the acacia leaves or acacia saplings in on the other side, but we got it all on this side, and I think it's looking absolutely fantastic. I love how this looks. Let's actually just go up into free cam rather than flying around with the Elytra and take a look at this. So you can see we're obviously missing some foliage in some spots. Like there needs to be some acacia saplings over here. Especially over there. And then we're missing a lot of ferns and tall grass, which I'm slowly but surely getting placed. You can see I got quite a bit of those in now, quite a bit of those over in this area now. And I've also done a ton of other stuff. Obviously, all the trees, we didn't have that done before in the last clip that I was talking. I did a lot of these on a live stream, I believe, earlier this week, or maybe last week. And man, they really pull this area all together. I absolutely love it. But I've also connected a little road here leading all the way up to this church we built in the last episode, which I think is looking pretty cool, winding through the hillside and winding up the through the wheat field. And then we have some layouts here, kind of some cleared out spots for a couple of houses. We're going to build, not in this episode, probably next episode, but we're going to build a couple little village houses here, and maybe one over here. I'm not entirely sure yet. But we got some paths and stuff leading to where those will eventually be. And I also built a little ruin over here, like a little ruined house. I think this looks so cool. Something I've been really trying to do a lot more of in while planning this area is just add stuff, everywhere. And that's something we'll probably get into even more in the next episode. But we got a little bit of that with the ruins. I want to add more ruins throughout the entire area. I think that'd be really cool. But we got a couple bridges here, one right here crossing the little creek here, and then another small one right here. And this is actually something we need to do before we end today's episode. We still got a lot of work to do before we do end, but I think we should maybe we try to work this out right now. Because I think once we get this in, this is going to be a major like turning point for the area. I mean, the trees were a big part of making this area look a lot nicer, but I think having the actual water in this stream finally will make a huge improvement here. So let's go ahead. We'll place the first one right here, and then we have to see how this flows down. I'm probably gonna have to do a lot of adjustments with placing blocks to get it directing in different directions. So let's see, if I put one here, is that gonna flow over the edge? It is. Okay, good. Now this keeps continuing down. Like I said, this is something that's going to be a very tedious process. It's going to take a while, so I'll probably have to cut away for a minute here while I do this. But yeah, you know what? Let me go ahead and do that, and we'll be back once I got a bit of progress here. All right, we got all the water in the river now. So we can fly all the way up, and you can see it's totally full. And I think this looks so much better. Just adds a little pop of blue to the entire area, which I think looks so nice. Let's actually step back and hop into free cam so we can get a better look. Yeah, that's such a massive improvement. I mean, it's such a small thing, but it really helped a lot. Now we are going to have another one leading in right here, but I haven't filled it in yet. So we need to do that before we can flood it. But that's probably something I'll get to after the episode is done. Now what I want to do, I want to do a few things to finalize this this build for this episode. I want to add in the rest of the cliffs over on this side, and then I want to add some foliage all around the riverbank here. Just as a little example of what the area is going to look like. This probably won't be finished today, but I want to just get the idea in and show you what the whole place will look like eventually, probably. And there we go. The cliff is finally mostly done. We got a few blocks here and there to fill in still with some grass, but I don't know exactly how I want to continue the mount up yet, so I'm not finishing that just yet. But I think it's looking so good. I love how these rock shapes have turned out so far. Very cool. And then I've also gone ahead and added a bit of foliage here, not a ton. But just to get a little idea of how this is eventually going to end up looking. Do you have any drip leaf? Every wandering trader I find, I've been looking for the small drip leaf every single time. I've gotten a few, but not many. But yeah, so this is what the general vibe is going to be like for the foliage around the area. And we're going to vary it up a little bit too. We may have like some bigger bushes over this way. May have some spots that just have no foliage. But this is going to be like a lot of it. And I think this looks really cool, making use of this small drip leaf quite a bit, mixing in some leaves, some moss, of course, ferns and tall grass all over the place. I think it's looking really cool. And we've got it spread out a little bit down the river here. We got some right here on these little islands, and then a little bit up there on that island over there. But yeah, like I said, we need to add a bunch more still. We need to cover a lot of this hillside with tall grass, and even down here, actually. I guess I didn't get to this either. But I think that's all stuff that we can leave for the future. I think the next episode, we're going to spend finishing up a few other minor things in this area, and then we're probably going to move out to a new build. But yeah, let's head out of this area and let's show off the area that we're going to be working on in the next episode. So a lot of you may not have seen this if you're fairly new to the channel, but we came out here recently and started a new medieval city project. Actually, not medieval city. This is not going to be medieval based, although there are going to be medieval houses in it. This is going to be like more like a Renaissance era, maybe Baroque type city as we expand further. But a lot of the houses we do in the next episode are going to be very similar to this style. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, and I will see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.